Welcome, guys, to the Battlefront 2 EA discussion, where we discuss the current microtransaction controversy. With me together, I'm M, Jim is S. S, yeah. Jake is also there.
Yep.
Drew is there.
Hello.
And we can start right off, I guess. So the first question is, what is your current relationship with EA, DICE, Disney, or Star Wars in general? I'm gonna start here to kind of break the ice. No, I boycotted EA in 2012, I think, after Mass Effect 3 and the Battlefield 3 Origin disaster. DICE exists for me. I like playing some of their games, mainly stuff like Battlefield 2142, 1942, Battlefield 2, Bad Company 2, stuff like that. Disney makes movies. I would sometimes watch them. And Star Wars, I watched the two newest movies. I was kind of disappointed in both of them, but I liked Rogue One better. That is my current relationship to Star Wars.
Okay, for me, EA, it's been voted the most evil corporation 2 years running by Consumerists. I'm not really
I thought it was the most shit.
Most shit, most evil. Yeah.
Yeah, come on, let's be fair. That prize was basically saying, oh my god, EA, you suck.
And keep in mind, they had like 100-something corporations to compete with to get that title 2 years running, back to back. They had to be pretty bad to get that.
Considering how often they stomp on people's childhood games, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of how they can kill some games. I'm even less of a fan of how they handle DLC for some of their games on Origin, BioWare points instead of flat pricing. I'm even less of a fan of how they've killed some good studios and franchises. But, I really don't buy any games from EA anymore. DICE, I can't really say much about them. I have one of their games in my Origin library, but I haven't played it, and it was one of the ones that was given out for free. I have no real opinion on them because the games they make don't interest me, and I don't really own them. Disney, I heard they were responsible for bringing back multiplayer to the original Star Wars Battlefront 2, but aside from that, they ruined franchises that they didn't really create. Plus, some of their films are disturbingly similar to certain anime that are well known to older anime fans. As for Star Wars, is it okay for me to say that the last film in the prequel trilogy killed my interest almost as much as the whole Spider Mall debacle?
I found the prequels somewhat okay, enjoyably slow, only if you take them as bad films.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Jake, what is your current relationship to EA, DICE, etc.?
I hate them because, literally, I grew up with RTSs and various other things like Command & Conquer, and they completely ruined it when it got to Command & Conquer 3 and Red Alert. Command & Conquer 4, that wasn't even a Command & Conquer anymore. It took away what was base about it. Building your bloody bases. Not that we're just going to give you, like, a choice of one of three things. Units, tanks, or buildings. The buildings are crap and nobody picks. The tanks are too expensive and too slow. The units are too weak and barely do shit to anything. And then it came down to stuff like The Sims.
Okay. Drew, what about you?
As far as EA goes, they made a lot of titles I enjoyed in my youth, such as the Madden series. I loved playing it on the PlayStation, but as time went on, I started playing less sports games, so not really the same pull anymore. And with how they treat most of their games and their consumers today, they're really a disrespectful, just greedy corporation that needs to be shot in the knees, but I don't think shoot a corporation in the knees. But that's just EA. Well,
latest example I can think of for that would be Need for Speed. Have you seen that latest?
Oh boy.
Hey guys, I'm here to show you Need for Speed. Which part was it again? Oh yeah, Underground.
Ah.
the only decent Need for Speed was Need for Speed Carbon, and that's not even available for purchase anywhere anymore.
There was a thing with one of the Need for Speed games where to get gas for your car, you need to use actual money. Does anyone remember that?
No, because the
I
last one I
don't.
played was Need for Speed Most Wanted.
I think I played that one. Yeah. But yeah, on to the other companies and businesses. Dice.
All right.
I played Battlefront 2. That was a Dice game, right?
Yeah.
Good game. I enjoyed it.
Wait, the original?
Yeah, I think I played the original and the second one.
The original and the second one were not Dice, as far as I recall.
Yeah, those were not
Are we
Dice.
sure?
Yeah.
Do they still like
Dice came in with Star Wars Battlefront EA.
Okay. Right. Okay. Right. Ah, they did Bad Company, right?
Yes.
Okay. That.
I guess
hey,
we can all agree, yeah.
Okay, they
Was
did
that
Bad
a pun?
Company. Maybe.
People that did the original Battlefront 2 was Pandemic Studios, apparently.
I liked them. I liked the game.
Weren't they shut down recently?
I think so.
Pandemic.
Oh, too bad. I think they also made The Saboteur.
And then
Oh well.
for Disney and Star Wars, I like Disney movies, right? I feel like they've gone down in quality in recent years. But as far as their video game franchises, the Lego Star Wars, I hate the Lego series in general. I mean, it's fun if you're a younger person, but for older people, it doesn't have as much appeal, at least as far as I see it. And Star Wars growing up was a big part of my childhood. I would watch the Star Wars marathons on Spike TV and or was it MTV? One of the two. But pretty good. But I think as it went on, the series is kind of dying out. The movies that came from Disney from the last few years are good movies in and of themselves, but I don't think they're good Star Wars movies.
Plus, have you noticed of how all the movies Disney release of late, they seem to be avoiding the animated ones like the Plague and going for live action or CG, like full on CG.
Yeah. I also noticed
Yeah.
that. That is kind of a shame, honestly.
I remember a few years back they announced that they were actually going to be axing bit by bit until they would have no more of it their hand-drawn animation studios.
Well, those were the best ones, like Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Aladdin, Cinderella, Snow White, stuff like that.
Sure, but you also have to think of it as a corporate, from a corporate point of view, because when they cut down the hand-drawn animation bit by bit, then they can come back even stronger later, generating a shit ton of hype.
Well, they were planning on getting rid of it entirely. That's why they were cutting it down bit by bit. Not to bring it back, but to just get rid of it entirely.
Yeah, let's not take the word of a corporation for absolute decisions.
It's proven that the hand-drawn stuff can still work when you go and look at stuff like Gravity Falls.
All right. Second question. Is the praise for EA's decision to deactivate the microtransactions justified, and what do you think about the decision?
I'll start.
Okay, go ahead.
I think it was a good idea for them to remove microtransactions, or at least
For
remove
now.
the pay-to-win nonsense. But what they ultimately said that it's a freeze, not a complete removal. As for justification, they could have gone with paying for cosmetics 100% of the way instead of locking heroes behind a paywall, but they caved to investors and did what the investors wanted because they're pretty much as evil as they are. They're a weakly evil corporation, in my opinion. But at least they put the freeze on for now, so I'll be happy until they bring it back in a year.
You can definitely tell if you've actually played the game that it wasn't DICE's intention, but was forced upon them by EA.
Yeah,
For like the
pretty much.
microtransactions, basically.
But still blatantly saying, yeah, taking the blame for that is just, I don't know. And the wording of how he said it is also shady as fuck sometimes. Because we are talking about a fully released game here, right?
Yes.
A fully released game with the clear intention from the very start to have microtransactions. And a game to support these microtransactions. To further emphasize on for players to buy the in-game items, to give them an advantage. That alone has no place in a full-price game. Clear as that. And I'm not drawing out of that.
Back up real quick. Not just is it a fully released game, it's a fully released AAA game at $60 US from a well-known and large company. This isn't a random, indie game, right? Making fun. This is a corporation that believes that these kind of practices should be encouraged.
From what I can tell, it just looks like they're trying to compete with Blizzard's loot box crates, of like the cosmetics, and that's all it is, as well as the MOBAs, pay for your character stuff on top of unlocking it through the loot crates.
Yeah, and seriously, right now, the solution that they have right now is far from ideal. If you have to play for how many hours, 10, 20 hours to unlock at least the better heroes, that's not how it's supposed to be. That's cheap, that's grinding, that's not fun grinding.
You
know what I mean?
That's weeks of your real world life where you're spending a weekend or two unlocking a hero, or 2 weekends to unlock a single hero.
Yep. I'm not against the progression system itself. I mean, we've had it since how long? Modern Warfare 1? Longer? It works. However, the rewards need to come faster.
Progression systems have been in modern video games forever, really. It's just the amount of time you need to put in, and if the reward you get at the end of it is worth it and fairly accessible.
This is why of old RPGs, people got satisfaction when they spent hours trying to grind that one steal from a boss with a drop rate of like 5%, like that one gauntlet, which then helps you with the hardest boss in the game later on, as opposed to just, fork over $5. Oh, now I've got it.
Yeah, but the problem ultimately, at least with progression in these games now, is that it's you can now pay to get progression instead of actually earning it. And there are people who will just throw money at a game. And this has kind of been a joke, at least in the MMORPG communities, for at least 5 years now. I know of a small animation studio that actually made a joke video about how you can pay to win in the newest free-to-play RPG that comes out. And it's just it's sad a little bit, but
Props
at
to
the
Blizzard.
same time,
Props to Blizzard though.
Yeah, but Blizzard doesn't put the progression behind a paywall, but
Exactly.
EA is putting progression behind the paywall. There's a lot of RPGs that are putting progression behind a paywall, and that kind of progression being put behind a paywall hurts players who aren't paying for it. But the excuse is, well, those people who are paying for their progression are supporting the game. And in a free-to-play MMORPG, I understand that, but this, as Drew said, is a game that was $60 at launch, and I believe most people had to pay to get in on the beta, meaning that they had to pay to be beta testers. So yeah, there's that too.
If you have followed online media for a while now, the gaming journalism has mostly praised the decision of EA and called it a victory. Is the praise for EA's decision to deactivate the microtransactions justified?
Here's the thing. They said they would deactivate the microtransactions. So that's the key word. These are coming back, and if nothing else, they will just get more devious. I don't trust EA to make this right, and I think that people would be better served to play other games or to just keep speaking out about it rather than praise EA for temporarily removing the thing you don't like, because there's a lot of speculation that says EA will put this back in by the time the holidays come around, after the controversy has died down.
Or before the holiday season, so that the people that want to buy the game and EA hopes that they haven't catched on yet, that microtransactions are back, so that they can screw them even harder. That's something I imagine EA would do.
I actually did check on the headlines for this. I think it was yesterday, and I saw a few different headlines that were not praising EA for this, but were actually saying things like EA has caved to the outrage of gamers everywhere.
I don't buy
EA
that
stock
for a
plummets
second.
after caving to demands of a few boycotters.
What?
This was like
Yeah.
Forbes and Business Insider, Wall Street Journal. They were all saying that, you know, that the gamers are evil for doing this boycott thing and making EA cave and take away microtransactions.
All right, I need to shop in there because I know exactly which articles you're talking about. And I can safely say that those journalists didn't do their proper job. However, I don't completely disagree with them for one reason specifically. The gaming journalism right now seems to report on this like it's a big victory, you know? But that isn't the case. The people who have complained and caused this change, we will go into more detail about this later in particular, but the people seem to think that they've won the battle. However, they keep forgetting that EA didn't give a flying fuck about the community since years.
I never trust anything EA says anymore.
Plus,
As I've seen, everything is calculated of them. They pick their words carefully, emphasis on they've disabled it temporarily, mostly, so they can then change their minds later, so they don't have the fallback of saying, you got rid of it. No, we said we disabled it. We didn't get rid of it.
exactly. They said they disabled it. They'll re-enable it once people have forgotten or once they feel that there's enough of a player base and enough growth that they can extort the microtransactions out of new players. That's something I suspect, that they'll just reactivate it when there's enough existing players who have earned their progression, that newer players will feel they have to pay extra in addition to what they paid for the game in order to progress.
Unless you pre-ordered, then you got an extra 2 or 3 boxes free.
Great.
If you are a new player who is lured in by this promise of, hey, listen guys, sorry here, we messed up. We're going to disable these microtransactions for the moment, and we'll amend the system at a later date to give you something that will be fair and balanced. So you go in and start playing the game, start enjoying the game. You know, no microtransactions, everything is good. Then a couple months down the line, these are back, right? People start buying into the things you can get with these microtransactions, and suddenly it's like, well, I can't really compete with these people as I am now, but you know, I've already spent $60 on this game. I don't want to waste that money I put in and never play this game again. So I'm just gonna get 1 or 2 boxes. It's gonna be okay, just 1 or 2 boxes, and then I'll keep playing and I'll have fun. I'll be just as these other guys, right? It's a slippery, slippery slope.
Me, it reminds
Yeah, especially it sounds dangerously similar to gambling.
That's what I was about to say. Something like, it reminds me so much of like that Dungeon Keeper mobile game. You know, the whole thing of where you start with a few excavations, minutes. Once you've gone to a certain point, it takes 24 hours to at least a month to excavate 1 block. And then it
Right.
takes gems just to finish clearing it.
I don't have to mention SimCity.
Work, damn it, work, damn it, work, damn it, work. Fuck it, I'm going to bed.
To get back to the question, my personal answer is just simply, I don't think the praise is justified because as it is right now, the gaming community might have won the battle, but they've lost the war.
Just seems like a test of waters. if people buy more of the game, then that'll mean that feel justified with the fact that the game has been disabled. But then by the time they've re-enabled it, all that justification has just gone out the window.
Yeah, and exactly the part I can't relate to that one part, you know. People were complaining about microtransactions in Battlefront 2. EA disables them and tells them it's gonna be back, and everybody is happy with. Not everybody, obviously, but so many people are happy about it. What should have happened is Shitstorm 2.0. Not okay. Let's play the game. No.
Don't tell
The
people
fuck?
to go buy the game at this point. Tell them to stay out until they further revise their stance and say, we're not going to bring it back, period.
Or start revealing information about, especially when they're going to bring back microtransactions. Wait until more news. That's the only thing we can recommend to you.
I think the best quote for this situation would be something from Star Wars, no less. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. Admiral Akbar, it's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
And everybody's going in for it. It was obviously a trap, and here we've got, the rebels going right in and paying for it. Sure, Darth EA, take our money. You've frozen microtransactions. Lock us in come Christmas.
The last thing they need is for it to turn out like another Dead Space 3.
At least with Dead Space 3, you could
Wait.
earn
Before we get into that topic, let's not sidetrack again. We already did that.
We've done a lot of sidetracking.
Yeah. Let's rather stick to the topic and talk about that later. All right, let's head to the third question. Might this event influence other publishers as well? My answer, no.
Nope.
Maybe, but as it's been said in the Overlord game franchise, evil finds a way. Just saying.
And it's EA.
It's EA. EA finds a way. It probably won't influence in a positive way.
I have to say one thing right here. It sounds like we're extremely negative against EA, but however, each one of us has made negative experiences with EA, and EA has given us literally no reason in the past 10 years to forgive them.
Very true.
We all have a bad history, and it's like Pavlov's dog. You get used to a certain set of behaviors or conditions, and you see one thing, so you expect something to come with it, because you've been getting that other thing that comes with it.
In my opinion,
And especially, sorry, Drew, you can talk in a moment. I just wanted to say this out loud. The thing is, all of us have made also positive experiences with EA. Like, prior to 10 years, franchises like Command & Conquer, SSX, stuff like that. Dungeon Keeper, Stuff like that really made us like EA. However, they changed. Sorry, Drew.
You're fine. But I think that this is going to influence other publishers, but possibly not in a positive way. You've got a lot of publishers out there that are going to look at this and be like, well, we've seen how far we can push our consumers. But at the same time, there are going to be publishers that go, well, these people are treating their player base really bad. So if we continue to give the players what they want, right, which is there's a happy medium behind what you can do, right, and behind what you should do, right? You can't just bend over backward for every single request the players make. But there is a fine line you shouldn't cross.
I can agree with that.
in my opinion, it still feels like EA's consumer base has got Stockholm syndrome. Of how they got so used to something like Call of Duty every year, Madden every year, FIFA every year. They feel the need to keep trying to defend EA for those games.
Yeah. It's
Honestly,
so shiny.
Kind of like the paid mod scandal, where
No. We're not talking about this here. Another time. That is a whole different issue in of itself.
Bethesda, are you listening?
you're
I'm
next.
not being paid by them. I'm not being paid by them. I'm not being paid by them.
Bethesda, you're next.
So, in conclusion,
Yeah. In conclusion, we mostly think maybe, but mostly no. Depending on how this will turn out. Fourth question. According to rumors, Disney was responsible for shutting down microtransactions due to the shitstorm that EA has stirred up. And no, contrary to what Polygon said, it's just a rumor. Could that be true, and what would that mean?
I'll go.
Okay.
Disney owns the Star Wars franchise, and if the rumor were true, then Disney probably saw the cutting into their bottom line and forced EA to act. But again, it's a rumor.
The thing I would like to take out, also why I wrote the question, what would that mean? If Disney, let's just cover the case if that's not true, then EA basically has free reign and Disney doesn't really give a shit about Star Wars or the reputation of that franchise. Disney has done similar things before. However, if that is true, then that basically proves two things. Disney has EA in an iron clench, basically. EA basically has to listen to Disney, otherwise they would lose a very profitable franchise. Or Disney is already starting to get unhappy with EA and starts tightening the fist. And either way, Disney then seems to care about their franchise and the reputation of that.
That leads me to what I was
remember-
going to say. That leads me to what I was going to say. With the way EA's been going, if it is true, that feels like Disney just don't want to be dragged down with EA with being associated with that whole one instance.
It's just, see it from the point, I can imagine Disney doing that because they've acquired that franchise 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, they bought it from
And-
LucasArts, and the way I see it, Disney could be, as I said, Disney could see it as cutting into their bottom line, and they're realizing, okay, it might be a little more costly to go with EA. We could go to another publisher like Ubisoft or somebody else. There are other
Exactly, and
publishers out
EA knows that. Sorry, I interrupted someone. I think it was Drew.
No,
You're fine.
I haven't said anything.
But yeah, EA could probably realize that they're not the only fish in the pond, and they're doing this to try and save face and maximize profitability, so that Disney doesn't replace them with somebody else like Ubisoft.
Which is why, like I said, it feels like Disney just don't want to be associated with EA due to the microtransactions.
Yeah, but I can relate to that actually, considering EA has been for 3 or 4 consecutive years the worst company of the US. So
Not to mention,
I was wondering why Disney gave them the franchise to begin with, the license. So
not to mention, after they were voted for 2 years, they started saying players first. Still yet to see that.
yeah, a lot of the criticism was constructive. It was fucking bullshit. No, seriously, their E3 presentation was better than the last few years, but their Battlefront presentation was fucking yeah.
Weak.
Yes.
If Disney did come down on EA, you got to think back to one of Disney's core mottos, right? The happiest place on earth, especially for, their theme parks, right? Their brand is associated with Star Wars, and Star Wars is now associated with EA, right? So it's likely that Disney did tell EA, like, hey, you got to shape this shit up. But I don't think Disney came down with a hammer, so to speak.
Yeah, otherwise the temporary deactivation, I don't think that would have been included if they would really have that kind of power over EA. You guys haven't shared your opinion yet about what if Disney isn't responsible? What if that isn't true?
What if that isn't true? Well,
Yep.
it's quite obvious. EA saw the cut into their own bottom line and saw a boycott on the horizon and thought that they would try to head it off at the pass. Say, oh, we're putting a freeze on it, realizing that, much like the humble EA bundle, that users could be lured in with a sack of crap and they could make off like bank with it. That's my opinion.
Moving into the holiday season, EA probably realizes, hey, if we don't cut off this controversy now, especially because this is a big...
This is their holiday title.
Exactly. This is a big part of gaming as a hobby's big moment of the year. a lot of parents, a lot of friends, significant others are going to be like, hey, I know X likes video games. What's the biggest title trending right now? So they're going to get them that title, right? A responsible adult who keeps informed about these things and has no other reason, outside of, hey, I really like Star Wars and I really like EA, so I'm going to get this no matter what people say. Or, you know what? I'm getting what I paid for. I'm happy, right? And there's going to be a lot of people out there like that. But moving into the holiday season, they want the controversy to die down so that, parents are going to be getting it for their kids, grandparents for, the grandchildren, just gifts in general.
Literally, it's like what I said. Even if Disney had nothing to do with it, EA is cold and calculating. So, yeah, there's bound to be a plan with that somewhere.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I'm not buying that they didn't prepare for this.
They might not bring it back right after or right at the start of the holiday season, and they might not bring it back right after because nothing hurts more than having to give money back in a refund. I mean, a few refunds here or there for a game, yes, that might hurt a little bit, but there are tax breaks for that. But a lot of refunds, like 10,000, 100,000.
Last example I can think of would have been Arkham Knight. Remember how bad that was on launch for PC?
A class action lawsuit. Those are the things that kind of become hard to clean up with a tax break, depending on how bad the damage is.
Yeah, especially after the disaster that was Battlefront 1. Sorry, Star Wars Battlefront EA 1. My mistake.
What about that company?
Yeah. Anyway, we've answered the first question, so let's head into the final one. Anything you want to say about the matter about the questions didn't allow for it? So now we're going into the area of microtransactions in general. So basically everything you wanted to talk about but didn't have the chance.
I expect EA to unfreeze these microtransactions in the future. About a year, give or take a few months. That's at the most. When they have enough people...
I'm giving them less than half a year for that decision.
I'm giving them till Christmas, or at the very least, Boxing Day.
What Jake said. 100%.
Yeah, I would agree with that, actually. It can't be. It's not possible they didn't prepare for this. Not at this time. They must have something in plan for the holidays. I'm not buying EA came in this unprepared with such a controversial system. They knew that. They built the game around that. They were fully aware of it. I'm not buying they didn't prepare for this.
Which is why, as I said before several times, they're cold, they're calculating, they know what they're doing.
Yeah,
they made a trap, and they're waiting for people to walk right into it.
Until they can't get out anymore.
Good thing I didn't fall for it.
Neither did I. I mean, I've got the first Star Wars Battlefront 2 that wasn't done by Bytes or EA. And, hey, Disney brought back multiplayer for that. My advice to everybody hearing this, don't buy the new Battlefront 2. Buy the old one. It costs less. It has multiplayer that works. It's on Steam.
Still phenomenal. Has aged well.
It has aged well. It's good. It's fun, and it's got progression.
It also has Count Dooku.
Yes, it has Count Dooku, and it's got progression not locked behind a paywall.
Also, General
and there's no change that can be made to put progression behind a paywall. I suggest everybody who wants to get Battlefront 2 get the first one instead.
2005 classic.
It's a 2005 classic, exactly.
The thing
on that note, I have neither played Star Wars Battlefront EA 1 nor Star Wars Battlefront EA 2 at this point. And my experience with the Star Wars Battlefront franchise is rather lackluster. I have only played Battlefront 2 in total for like 4 hours. I have it installed, but so far I haven't had the chance to check it out even further.
And let's talk about Battlefront 2, the new one, real quick. If you've watched the gameplay of it, it does look like an extremely beautiful game, right? And it does look like it'd be fun, right?
It looks so gorgeous.
Exactly. It's super tempting. But at the end of the day, just everything else is like, ugh.
That was my
It's like
take.
it's like a graphics blender that prefers action over substance.
Like what I thought of the first one.
It's
Holy
bait.
shit, them graphics, but there was no story. There was no content beyond multiplayer.
I think it was in the first Battlefront. You got Tatooine, and you basically won because you could always have the hero.
Yeah. Well, in Battlefront 2, to be fair, there is a single player, but from what I've seen so far, I have looked at some of the cutscenes. Of course, I haven't played the full experience. I think it's supposed to go on for like 5 to 9 hours. However, from what I've seen, I can't imagine it being a worthwhile story in the end. Why do I think that? Because I personally think the writing is already lackluster and it's just the start of the game. When the fundamental basis of your story is already weak, then the climax you're trying to build up for in that universe that you already established rather weak, it will never feel as satisfying. And if they don't magically fix that style of writing, which would be a first for EA, in the middle of the game, then I don't see this story actually being worth anyone's time. That is my opinion so far. Of course, I've only seen 10, 15 minutes. But from what I've seen, that's my current impression.
You're talking about the original Battlefront, right? Or
Battlefront 2 EA.
Battlefront 2? Oh, okay. All right. I haven't looked at much of the story in Battlefront 2 AA, but I believe you have to... I'm not sure about this, but you need to get to a certain point to unlock later parts of the story. Am I right with this, or?
Can confirm. So I can confirm that. So I don't own the game.
I was saying Battlefront EA 2 or Battlefront 2 EA, doesn't look like there's a separation in the fun factions. Like, you want to be the droids, you want to be the Confederacy, you want to be the rebels, or do you want to be the Empire? Unlike the original one where you could.
Yeah. Jim?
I was asking, does the Battlefront 2 produced by EA, does that not have a single player campaign at all? Is that multiplayer only?
First
The
one,
first Battlefront EA has multiplayer only.
yeah.
I think.
That's cheap.
Technically, you could
$60 for a multiplayer only game? Holy crap.
No.
Technically, you could say the first one does have a story, but only for like 2 or 3 missions. That's about it.
The most recent Battlefront 2 does actually have a campaign. It follows Inferno Squad that answers directly to the Emperor. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah. We were just talking about the original for a second.
Okay. I mean,
So Battlefront EA 1. This is getting fucking confusing.
it does get confusing, and
It does get confusing. And EA is making it confusing on purpose.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, we have Star Wars Battlefront, we have Star Wars Battlefront 2, we have Star Wars Battlefront EA, and we have Star Wars Battlefront 2 EA. What the fuck?
Yeah.
This is why I hate franchise reboots.
Companies like
Xbox One X! Now for everybody!
Well, the thing about Xbox One X is if you take the initials side by side, you get Xbox.
companies like to do that sort of stuff all the time. Best example I can give off the top of my head at the moment is, let's see, PlayStation 1, Tomb Raider. Later, 2013, Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider, Tomb Raider.
Don't forget the movie, Tomb Raider.
Lara Croft.
Okay, guys, I think we can round this discussion up. We're kind of going off topic again.
Yeah.
Any last words before we summarize this?
Don't buy the EA-produced Battlefront 2. It's a trap. Buy the original one that Disney improved.
I can fully agree with that statement.
100%.
At least for now. Wait for more news before you decide to buy Battlefront 2 EA.
It's okay to want to buy this game because, again, it does have a lot of potential and it looks gorgeous. But this is a game that was built for microtransactions. At its core, microtransactions are always going to be part of the deal.
All I can say is EA sucks.
Agreed.
Yeah?
Yeah. No disagreement there. EA sucks.
However, I would like to add to that we are not hating out of blind rage. We have our reasons, and there was a point where I can safely say all of us were at one point or another fans of EA.
This is true.
I love the Madden games. They were great.
Especially
I fucking love SSX.
one things I remember buying were like the old James Bond games. Those were EA.
True.
They do GoldenEye?
No, I think that was Rare.
Yeah, that was rare.
I was about to say, I liked that game.
However, EA did the remake.
Oh.
With that, we answered all the questions for this discussion. Had a lot of small talk on the way. We had a lot of fun, I think. Maybe. Depends on whether or not you guys liked it. And I wish all of you a good day and hope that at least this little discussion did shine a little light on this current issue and what we think about it. Yeah. You guys want to say goodbye or something?
Yeah, I'm good.
So long.
Pip pip cheerio, old chap.
Have a good day.